Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll begin with the opening statement from Coach Carney and then open to questions.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Monday, sun came up, on to Florida State. Feel heartbroken still for the guys in that locker room that we weren't able to get, the result that we desired against Buffalo on Saturday. I thought, as we continue to develop our identity and figure out who we are, I think we've taken huge strides there, and it's proof that we're going in a really positive direction. I thought our competitive depth was outstanding. We played 56 guys on Saturday. Credit to our staff and the way we've recruited. Not a lot of drop off. When you play that many players, that's a credit to your coaching staff and the way they're developing the players. I thought our offensive growth was apparent. I think our quarterback played at a really high level. Secondary communication, we still need some work. Some coaching miscues, end of half, end of game. We'll learn from and be better in the long run. But, guys making their first college starts. Drew DeShields was awesome. Tyler Meadows, the left tackle, was outstanding. Reese Stevens' first touch goes for a touchdown on a reverse. Trey Rubenstein, quietly 12 plays of special teams, played really, really well. Tarek Mulder, getting in the end zone. Obviously, Cade continues to grow. We're close, but growing. Excited.
Coach, you had over 10 different guys make a reception Saturday. How does that make you difficult to defend?
I think it's balance, right? People talk about balance in offensive football a lot, and, I think some people equate it to numbers, right? 50-50 run pass. That's not offensive balance to me. Offensive balance is, putting 5 skilled players on the field that can all impact the game. And I thought Coach Patterson did a really great job of spreading the ball around and forcing the defense to defend the entire football field.
Have you ever seen a drive like that? 22 plays, 93 yards, over 12 minutes, took more than 80% of that fourth quarter. Have you ever seen something like that?
Yeah, once or twice. They don't happen very often, but efficiency on offense leads to really good things.
You guys had some tackles for loss early on. The Buffalo offense started to get going more in the second half. What do you think you could have done differently to get that final stop on defense?
Yeah, again, end of half, end of game, those are critical situations. And I thought we got out-coached, quite frankly, and that's the harsh reality. Coach Lembo and his staff do a great job of keeping those guys playing together, and to their credit, they didn't blink, right? That quarterback is going to be a really good player. That running back is a really good player. They have an excellent football team, and what can we do differently? We just got to continue to believe in the moments that we belong in those situations, and as we gain experience there, those plays will go our way.
This team in the last 2 years has not been as close as they were Saturday, really, in the last 2 seasons. What was your message to them post-game?
We know who we are. We beat Merrimack. We go on the road to Texas Tech and don't play our best. I think, for a lot of that football game, we played very well. Now that we understand what our margin of error is, it's critical that we understand how each and every play can affect and influence the outcome of a football game.
The resiliency was on notice. You guys give up 24 unanswered, then score 14 more unanswered to take a 28-24 lead. How do you continue to try and craft that in these guys? Because a lot of people around the program say, last couple of years, you go down 10 there, they don't come back.
Yeah, it's the resiliency of our football team, and going back to the proof thing, I think you go into a season every year of, this is our expectation for ourselves, and as you can see proof of that growth, I think it's going to continue to change the expectation we have in one another and for ourselves, and we're going to continue as a coaching staff to put these guys in great positions to be successful. we made some errors there coaching wise that didn't allow that. And we're growing as a staff. We're growing as a team. That's everybody.
How crucial were your corners, Jair Rollison and Atiq Muhammad, in stopping the run game, especially with those open field tackling in the outside?
Yeah, I thought our tackling for the most part was really good. We got to trust our eyes and trigger a little bit better in certain situations. But those guys are competitors, man. They compete every single day. We're deep at a lot of those positions, and whether it's Jair, who I thought played an excellent football game, or Atiq, or Stock, or DJ Barnes, or 17-year-old Derek Jackson come up with an interception. We're going to keep getting better and better, each week.
You go into a top 25 Florida State team going this weekend, another difficult challenge. What do you know about Florida State, and do you approach this game potentially a little bit differently with it being an out-of-conference game, Coach?
You don't approach it differently. I think, again, we talked about it, before the Texas Tech week. We recruit guys in the transfer portal and high school players that want to be involved in these types of environments, right, and want to make plays and, proving somebody wrong, proving yourself right, whatever it is, whatever we're motivated by, right? Our challenge is continue to grow, right? Don't be satisfied with where we are. Avoid complacency, and continue to grow.
Last one I have for you, Coach. Do you have an update on Dusty Morrell?
He'll be fine. Dusty's fine. He's got a high ankle sprain right now. We'll see how he looks throughout the week of practice, but Dusty's a really tough kid, kind of a fluke situation. He'll be fine.
Did you like what you saw out of Jackson Dunn when he came in there?
Absolutely. Another young guy and Ashton Rivera as well. Whenever you lose a center, quarterback, right, someone who's involved in the battery of that offense, that can take some reps to get it right. Credit to Ashton, slid right in, did an outstanding job, and then Jackson to come in and compete the way he did in his first real action was very encouraging.
Go ahead, Rob.
Coach, kind of following on that one, the play of the offensive line altogether once Dusty got hurt. What did you think of that group and how they had to do that on the fly? Can you talk about your line when they lose their leader, that they still were able to perform?
Yeah, no, that's a credit to Coach Angel. He does a great job preparing those guys and trusting the players, right? I think that's critical. That as we build relationships in our locker room and amongst each other, that the H in habits is honesty, right? We are very, very honest with one another, and continuing to grow together is very important. Whenever you lose, again, part of that battery, it can be a little tense, but Ashton's a veteran guy. He's a leader in that room. The guys all have faith in him. The closeness of each group is paying great dividends for us right now.
Going back to that drive in the fourth quarter where you've got the ball for, almost 12 and a half minutes, whatever it was, over 20 plays, you convert 3 fourth downs, you overcame some offensive penalties. Does that just speak to what this whole group has done, kind of since you've taken over? Do you take solace, even though you lost the game, in the fact that when you guys face adversity on Saturday, you're able to persevere and have good things happen? Yeah,
there's no moral victories. I think the growth in this team is obvious. It's evident. And it's a credit to the guys in that locker room, the way they've stuck together and believe in one another. We're to the point now where we know we can be competitive with anybody on our schedule. It's how competitive are we with each other and ourselves every day that will continue to maximize the potential of this football team.
Weren't able to get a lot of pressure on Roberson, just the one sack. He kind of held the rushing game, pretty much in check. But did they surprise you with how well they were able to pass, over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns? And was the game plan to try to slow down the running game and force them to pass, and they just executed? How did that go?
Yeah, very much so. You go into each week and say, all right, these are the things that can beat us. and try to limit Al J. Henderson and try to limit Victor Snow as best you can. I think Roberson's a really, really good player. Our plan in rushing him, especially in long yardage or passing situations, was to put a spy on him and rush with 3, sometimes 4, but mostly 3, and then had C.J. Young spy in him, who did a great job. For the most part, a couple times he got caught up, maybe too close to the LOS, and a lineman was able to redirect him or get hands on him. We rushed him differently, and to his credit and their credit, they made the plays to win the game.
Coach, with this week with Florida State, can you take anything from the Tech game a couple weeks ago? Some lessons learned from that to try to get off to a little bit better start. Just how do you try to approach Saturday from that standpoint? That hey, you played a big team, at their place. Can you take anything from that and moving forward for Saturday?
Yeah, I mean we better have learned our lesson, about the way we start in those environments for sure. I mean that's growth, right? I think. For the most part, the last 6 quarters of football that we've played, there's a lot of really positive things to take away. We're going to focus and keep building on those positive things and, certainly learn the lessons and we'll be better moving forward.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rob.
Good day. Thank you, Coach.
All right. Appreciate it.